Boo!
Let's cue up some music. This story tonight, when I read it, I was more than thrilled to share it. It's called The Black Dog. If you listen or watch this show on a regular basis, you'll know how much we like the story of the black dog. And what do you know? We have one now from a trucker. So I think we're all excited now that we've wrapped up for that. Let me get it going here. The Black Dog. I want to begin by saying I've been an over-the-road trucker for the past 5 years now. I started driving as a career when I was 21. I honestly love what I do, even if it's for ungrateful people. During the past 5 years, I've seen some unnatural things on the road. Some things that most likely have no real explanation. Some of those things felt evil, and others just left me feeling unsure. I'll begin with the one that most people who drive a semi as a profession at night, or who possibly have family in the transportation industry, have experienced. If they haven't experienced it, they probably at least heard of it. The Black Dog. I remember the first time I heard this. I was about 3 months into this career, and I heard two older drivers talking about it in a rest stop diner. They spoke about how the black dog shows up when you've been driving too long late at night. I won't go into too much detail before the story, but every commercial driver has to follow hours of service regulations, stating you can't drive more than 11 hours a day, and you can't be on duty more than 14 hours, assuming you spent some time waiting for your trailer to be loaded or unloaded, whatever. If this time is reached, a mandatory 10-hour rest break is required, and it is mandatory. In a quick summary, they say seeing the black dog is caused by your brain forcing a shutdown because of fatigue. While you're driving, basically you fall asleep with your eyes open, blending reality and the dream in a state causing hallucinations. The old wise drivers tell you that if you see the black dog, it's time to get some rest. Some say the dog is there to protect you from getting into an accident, kind of like a guardian angel. But others think there's something much more evil behind it. Enough time wasted, I will get to the story. This happened to me about 6 months ago. I had a delivery to make in western New York and was coming up through rural Pennsylvania on one of the state routes. It was a little after 10 p.m., and I still had about 3 hours left to drive. I can't stress this part out enough. I wasn't even remotely tired. I was driving around a winding set of curves on this route through the forest area. I come around a blind left curve, and there I saw it, sitting on the edge of the road, a black dog. Suddenly, it came darting out in front of me in the road. I was traveling at 50 miles an hour with a completely full and heavy load in the trailer. There was no way I could stop in time. I slammed onto my brakes, but soon felt what I thought was the dog being hit hard. I was immediately thinking there's no way it would survive being hit by a 76,000 pounds moving at 50 miles an hour. When I finally came to a stop about 400 feet later, I pulled off as far as I could to the right side of the road, and I stepped out of my truck. I walked around to the front and closely examined the area of the truck in which I thought the dog was struck. There was no damage, no blood, no scratches, nothing at all indicating anything had been hit. I walked all the way around the trailer and still wasn't seeing any damage. I hopped back in and grabbed my flashlight out of the truck. I go back out of the truck and start heading to where I was certain I hit the dog back down the road to look around. Still not suspecting anything odd. My mindset was pretty simple. If it was someone's dog, they had the right to know what had happened. I searched up and down the road and in the ditches for over 5 minutes and found absolutely nothing. I even looked on the roadway when I was on my way down there, and there was no sign on the roads of anything happening. I was completely confused. I gave up searching and decided to walk back to my truck. As I got closer, walking down the side of my trailer, approaching the front of my truck, suddenly all at once, I got cold chills down my spine. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up, and I broke into a cold sweat. I saw it. The black dog was sitting just below my driver's side mirror, staring at me. I could only see it because of the amber lights on the side of my truck and trailer illuminating the black dog. I decided to shine my flashlight on the dog. As soon as the beam of the light hit the dog, it just vanished. It was suddenly gone. I knew it was time to get the hell out of there. I ran to the driver's side door of my truck, quickly climbed inside, locked the doors, released my brakes, and booked it down the road. For the next 5 miles, I kept seeing the black dog on the side of the road staring up at me. Something didn't feel right about this at all. Every time I saw it, it was staring at me. Always with no expression, not doing anything, but just sitting there looking at me. Every time It would disappear moments after seeing it, then reappear again shortly down the road. I felt a level of fear I'd never felt before. I was legitimately scared. I didn't know what to do. There was nowhere within enough space for a 70-foot-long truck and trailer to turn around, and this delivery needed to happen as soon as possible. I was running out of time. So as they say, I decided to keep on trucking. After at least 5 minutes of this happening, the dog stopped appearing. About 15 miles later, weird things started to happen. My interior lights were turning on and off. My headlights were flickering constantly. Then I began to lose air pressure from my brakes. I realized this was not good because if your air pressure drops below 20 to 40 psi, it's not enough air pressure to keep the springs held back and being able to be applied for both the truck and trailer brakes. It got down to 60 psi and an air warning light came on, so I decided to pull over to the side of the road while I had the air pressure to do so safely. I got out to check what was causing the air pressure loss. Keep in mind, I was terrified this whole time. I got up to there and I looked closely and I saw all the brake lines were severed. It looked like they had been bitten in half, which was crazy because the air lines on big trucks are made to withstand 150 psi, and the lines had been severed. The brake didn't look clean exactly, more like mangled and chewed. Well, there was nothing else I could do, so I notified dispatch about the breakdown and turned on the emergency lights and laid out my reflective triangles. Around an hour later, after sitting there terrified the entire time, nothing else had happened and I was still waiting for help to arrive. Eventually, from a good distance, I saw the lights of another 18-wheeler approaching. I switched my CB to channel 19, which is a common channel used, and told the driver to keep to the left as there was a very small shoulder and I was about halfway into the lane of travel. The driver radioed back, 10-4, thanks for the heads up, driver. Is everything okay up there? So I radioed back, yeah, damn brake lines. He didn't respond, and moments later he came past me without slowing down, easily doing 60 in this 45 zone. I watched him follow the curve to the left and then saw the brake lights and heard screeching of the tires and watched as he swerved off the road and ran into a large pine tree. I climbed out of my truck and ran over to his truck. It was smashed in and a branch was pierced through the windshield, his front windshield. I quickly opened up the driver's side door and saw the large branch had punctured through his shoulder just above his underarm pit, and a small amount of blood was leaking out. The way the branch appeared to be punctured into his shoulder appeared to be preventing extreme blood loss. It was just a little amount at this point. The driver was unconscious, so I immediately called 911, gave them the state route, the mile marker, and the nature of his injuries. They told me they notified EMS and the state police would be there as soon as they could. 20 minutes later or so, they arrived, and they had to use a saw to cut the branch both in front and behind the driver. Once out of the truck and on the gurney, he finally came to. He started crying, but not out of pain, but what seemed to be concerned. He kept asking the EMS and the police, did I hit her? Did I hit that poor little girl? I was taken back by this. I was shocked. Because the last house I passed was at least 3 miles away, and there was no houses in sight of us on the stretch of the road that was in front of us. The ambulance rushed him to the hospital, and the police notified the towing company and then called his company to inform them of the incident. I gave the state police my witness statement. As they were leaving the scene, the large tow truck my company dispatched arrived, along with a relay driver to finish my delivery for me. In the exchange with the relay driver, he looked at me and all he said was, "You saw it, didn't you? The black dog." I nodded my head and replied, "Yes." He then said, "Kid, it saved your life, and it's best you don't forget that." Everything got hooked up and we were on our way. That was the last time I saw the black dog. Well, so far at least. I don't know why it was there or what it wanted. I also don't know how it chooses who it appears in front of or when it chooses to do so. But all I know is that it may have saved my life that day. If you are traveling and you ever see the black dog, pull over immediately. Was that everything I hoped it would be?
Yeah, that was great. Wow. I'm really happy that you got to do a black dog story on here, because that's like, our entire reason for being on here, basically.
Yeah, the black dog I think started this huge this like spark of interest with us to do this show. In my opinion, at least. I don't know. Go to the black dog short clip just to keep people up on what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
You saw the dog, didn't you? The black dog. I've heard truckers talk about it on the yard. They say it comes to take everything away from you.
And it did.
What more can you say?
Yeah.
Let's start off by going into some detail here about he was not like a long experienced driver, but 5 years is still a pretty decent amount of time. He said he was at 5 years. It was 6 months ago, 4.5 years or so doing this job. So he's not exactly completely inexperienced. So let me just say, the person communicated clearly that this was known by all the drivers. He had first heard about it when he was just a few months in, went to a truck stop. He heard two older drivers talking about it. He had constantly heard about it. And he said it's common, like if your family was, if your father or whoever was a truck driver, you would have heard about it too. So this is not like, this is a well-known thing, man, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. We've heard, similar stories from, or read similar stories and stuff like that. We had talked about it during the show a few times that we had read about Black Dog stories. This was probably the best one I've ever heard because of the amount of times the dog kept showing up, which is unusual. Usually it's just like a one and done.
He wanted, not to cut you off, but he wanted to make sure that we realize, the person wanted to make sure we realized that we're not tired at all.
Yeah.
It wasn't super late even.
It's so, like, to see this thing multiple times is very kind of unusual. Furthermore, with it apparently biting through its air brake system and stuff like that, that's pretty crazy.
A lot of people in the chat are saying he was just seeing things. A lot of shit happened. At some point, it would probably wake you up for a little while. Unless you hallucinated the whole entire event entirely. Constant things happen, you think you would be kind of woke up for a little while. Your body would wake itself up. So he makes impact with the dog, or what he thinks is the black dog, right? And he gets out. You had a story similar to this with a dog, but it did something else. But looks around, no sign of damage at all. Then the person does the right thing. They're going to go check back where they think the point of impact was. They looked around for the dog, couldn't find anything. Come back, and that's when they had that scary moment. Can you picture this moment? So you're going around the back of the trailer. You know how the trailers have those lights on the side illuminating? Yeah. And as you turn around and you're getting a little closer, you see it sitting under your mirror on the outside there. What was walking through your mind? I could put myself in this picture of this.
Yeah, the description of it kind of just being barely illuminated at all by this amber light, and just seeing it sitting underneath its the driver's side mirror, just sitting there. Yeah, that sounds terrifying. And then the fact that it disappeared when they flashed it with the light, to try to get a good look at it. Yeah, that would be the most unnerving thing, just to see something like that.
Go to the chat here. Oh, we got dropping. Oh, that is, we know this person.
Yeah, we know this person.
Tyler. Yeah. Okay, so he travels or drives after losing long shifts. This is awesome. He would just go to sleep, though. He wouldn't even pull over. That guy. Let's see what else we got here. Great story. Never knew the black dog could be capable of good.
That is an interesting thing. They mentioned that the black dog saved him.
Maybe the black dog disguised itself as a girl to save the semi-truck driver from getting hit by the other semi-truck. I like the theory of that.
That's possible. That part was a very strange part for that person to just, peel out of there like the way they did, and then they hit that branch. Man, that's a terrifyingly painful injury that I can imagine. Just like that branch going through you like that.
Yeah. Can imagine so he had to wait an hour for help. Can you imagine just sitting there after everything you've experienced up and down the road the last 20 miles?
Yeah, that constant sighting of that dog on the side of the road. Yeah, I would definitely be on edge, for sure. The entire time, just kind of checking with a flashlight or something.
You see an oncoming truck, they're definitely going to radio it so it doesn't hit you, right? For safety reasons.
Definitely. Yeah, it would make sense to be on the CB or something and just constantly, let people know where you're at. That was freaking scary and really awesome. That was better than I could imagine.
Did it live up to the movie?
I think it beats the movie.
Dang. In the movie, it wasn't necessarily a bad thing, the black dog in the end, wasn't it? Didn't he have the black dog in the end? I don't remember, heck.
In that story, though.
It was in the back of the truck, wasn't it? Randomly, a black dog?
Oh, man, I can't remember. But, in that point, though, in the movie where he's recounting the story, he ends up actually hitting somebody with his car.
Yes, that's how he lost his life. That's how he lost his CDL, right?
Yeah. that story of the black dog is a little bit less helpful because it drove him into swerving off the road, hitting that person. This
Meatloaf
story,
was the real black dog, somebody said.
he's got that dog in him.
Yeah, that's for sure. Dude, this is an incredible story. You don't know how excited I was to share this with you.
That was great.
I was holding back like a little kid, all excited. I thought that this is going to be like a mic drop here. It was everything I hoped it would be, I think, by your reaction, everybody else's reaction.
Yeah, I mean, it really was. Once you said you were going to read that black dog story, I was like, this is going to be great.
It's not the end either. I think there's going to be more black dog stories in the future.
Oh, sure, there will be.
Did you really, last thing I'll ask you before we move on, did you really think it was like that common, like this person's saying?
I've read other people talk about it over the years. Like, I've looked up the movie Black Dog, and like people will talk about, oh, you know, it's actually a thing. It's not just a random movie with Swayze.
Swayze was awesome. Wow, I don't know. I'm gonna be thinking about that one for a while.
It was a good one.
Black Dog.
I really like that one a lot.
Yeah, I did too. I can't just let it go either. I got to find that video one more time. It was so great.
You saw the dog, didn't you?
What dog?
The black dog.
You mean like the Led Zeppelin song?
No, Cruz knows what I'm talking about, don't you? I've heard truckers talk about it on the yard. They say it comes when you've been on the road too long and pushing too hard. When you get greedy. They say it comes to take everything away from you.
And it did. I was hauling a load up from Atlanta on my 6th straight Georgia run. It was my daughter's birthday, and I thought I could make it home in time. I was on this long, dark stretch of I-75 with nothing to look at but the white line when I saw it. He was in the middle of the road, coming straight at me with his teeth bared, red eyes staring. So I swerved to miss him. And I lost control.
Where do you come up with this shit?
It's for real, Wes.
Yeah? And I bet you've seen UFOs and aliens with big eyes.
No. Just a black dog.
Jeff Townsend Media. CG, good night.
And the question is, do I stay here? Will you be back? Are you gonna come back? Will you be back? Are you coming back?